Good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, looking at the put to call ratio. Right now, it's at 0.53. It's pretty low. A lot of people are on the call side because of the debt ceiling. So, you have to watch out for our rug pull on that. It's even though we had a down day Friday or Thursday, Wednesday, whatever. I think it was Thursday. We could end up seeing another rug pull because it put the call ratio is getting too low. Now on the economic calendar for the week, today's Memorial Day. It's markets close. So people that serve, thank you for your service. Always remember. Tuesday, we have consumer confidence at 10 a.m. Wednesday, we have Chicago PMI. We have job openings at 10 a.m. We have some FOMC speakers, Harker and Jefferson at 12:30 and 1:30. Beige Book at 2. Beige Book has been a mover lately, so we have to keep an eye on that. Thursday, we have unemployment claims, manufacturing PMI, and prices, so we're going to see some stuff 8:30 and 10 o'clock. Then on Friday we have non-farm employment change and unemployment rate. So we have unemployment claims on Thursday, unemployment rate on Friday. We'll have to see what happens on that. That could end up being could have a kind of a very volatile week based on some numbers. But every time the market gets bad numbers, it just shrugs off like, I don't care. So whatever. Market did drop. VIX popped on, let's see, what's this, Tuesday and Wednesday right there. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday right there. Got to 20, got rejected, came back down. Now, the VIX can drop down to under 16 again, so it does not have to pop. There was some news about the debt ceiling over the weekend, and market gapped up a little bit, not really that much. Only right now it's up 11 points as of right now when I'm recording this. So I mean, I thought there'd be like a 50, 100 point gap up. I mean, I wonder what it was when it opened up yesterday. Let's see. Yesterday when it opened up, it closed Friday at 412.18. Opened up at 420. Yeah, it opened up like 40 points, 30 points. So I mean, it did gap up pretty good. Then it ended up selling off. So, but anyways, so VIX definitely could end up back under 16 if there's more hope about the debt ceiling. Because I think their deadline's coming up in a couple days. So. We could end up seeing the market pop just on that, and maybe it will end up thinking, okay, the debt ceiling is being raised, that's good. Then the next day the market say, oh, maybe it's not so good. So the market's really touchy, sensitive about stuff like that. It starts going crazy on hopium, then after reality kicks in, they're like, okay, maybe this is not good news, and then it ends up selling off or something. So definitely could see VIX back down to 16 again. Now VIX can go below 16 and get down to 15. Because it has over here back in 2020, so definitely keep an eye on that. Now SPY, depending on what's going to happen with the news, it's going to be all about the debt ceiling and the numbers this week. Right now, the weekly inverted head and shoulders is still there. This, I think, I mean, technically it has broken out. If you want to go based off this 416, 417 area, it has broken out of that. We could go a little higher just to get more people on the call side. We can get a gap to fill right here at 420. Did it fill? 421.22. No, it didn't. It was off like 50 cents. So we got a little gap fill right here at the 422 area. So we could push fill that gap, then kind of get more calls in and get excited, then it ends up dumping. So we'll have to see if that happens. But the market could end up just raging and shooting up to 425 or even 430. So Definitely keep an eye on that. Well, the market will pick the direction, and we just gotta trade it. So that's why you need to be in the room, and we'll just see what happens and just trade day by day and see what happens. So 4:30. I mean, you would think it would stall out if it gets to 4:30. I'm just thinking that you get this big inverted head and shoulders. Everyone's watching. Everyone's going to get on the call side. You could give it just a little more nudge to get more people in before dumping it more. So we'll have to see if that actually happens. But I'll watch it from both directions. I'd even watch it underneath 418 for push to 416. Down to 410.50 again. Eventually this level is going to break because we get some gaps to fill down here at the 397, and we get a gap down here at the 408. So we get some gaps to fill down here. They do usually fill eventually. What the reason will and when it will be a different story. So definitely keep an eye on that. Now, as far as the other ones, pretty much keeping an eye on the same stocks for the last couple of weeks. Apple, I keep looking at this thinking, okay, we're going to reject. I'm going to keep an open mind because, Apple is still closed pretty high, at the high of the week, right at the resistance. So, if it gaps over the resistance, we could see a push to 180, even the one all-time high of, is that all-time high? Yeah. Of 182, 183. We could definitely see a push up to there. This trend line is going up to 190, so... But it's at the top of the Kellner channel. Be very leery of that. But if this ends up the market ends up raging a little bit, Apple could have a strong push right here. Could have a nice breakout. So I would keep an eye over 176 or even 177 for a push to 180, 183 because of being the all-time high. Then 190 would be the trend line. So definitely keep an eye on Apple. And I'll also keep an eye on underneath 170. It gets below 170. It's got some room. Got the earnings gap up right here to fill, which is down here to 166. So definitely keep an eye on Apple. BA has done a whole lot of nothing still. It's still in its channel. It doesn't want to go anywhere. So it is holding above the 20 EMA still. So if it gets over this let's say 205. Yeah, we'll say 205. It gets over 205, push to 210, 215. But if it gets underneath this 200 area, definitely down to 195. Eventually, it's going to get out of here. But I've been waiting for this thing to get out of this flag. This is a massive bull flag, by the way. A huge pull right there. Then you get the flag. Technical is showing it's going to have a nice big raging pop, but BA being BA, I don't really have much hope of it doing that, but you got to be ready for either side. So that's what I'd be looking for on BA. Netflix. If it ever loads. Now Netflix, I was looking at the short side of it, but now I have to keep looking at this and big cup and handle. You get the cup and you get the handle. It had this ridiculous push on Friday. The RSI, it's still got a ways to go on the weekly. It's not really that high. We get a bearish divergence on the daily because it's making a higher high on prices. It's making a lower high. So you got to be careful of flashing a divergence. But just because it's showing a divergence doesn't mean it's going to dump. Divergences can last for weeks, even months. If you were around when Roku and Baidu was going crazy, there was a huge weekly divergence that played out for months. So they can keep going. So don't go jumping in the push because you see a divergence and it has to play out. This thing could end up raging to 400, 450 before it actually decides to start dropping. So I'd be watching it over Friday's high of 384. We'll round up to 384 and for a push to 400. And then you get the 415 area, then 450 on that. So definitely keep an eye on that for Netflix. Now, Meta. Meta is just, it's getting into heavy resistance right here. You can see right here on the weekly, this 260 level has been pretty hard for it. But even though it ripped right through it, this is just ridiculous on the daily. It keeps having massive gap ups from earnings. It's get some gaps to fill on the daily. It just keeps raging and raging and raging. The hourly RSI is at 80. It's ridiculous. The weekly is above 75. It's just getting very, very extreme levels. Buying calls at this stage of Meta is just stupid. So I would watch for a dump underneath, we'll say 258 for push down to 255, then 250, 245. Basically, it'd be $5 from there on. And get gap resistance right here at 230. So keep an eye on Meta there. Microsoft. Microsoft just keeps going. It's just like Meta, just keeps going. I was kind of watching Microsoft right here for weakness, but now it's just so far out of the Kellner channel. It's getting ridiculous, but it's got major resistance right here at 340. So if it does manage to run a little more, I could probably stall out at the 340 area. RSI on the weekly is about 74. The daily, it's 74. Hourly, it's 80. It's just, I would not be looking at calls at this point in stage. In fact, I'd be looking at puts under like 331 for push to 325 and gap resistance right down here at 320. And then if it manages to break that, we have heavy selling. I could probably fill a gap down to 315. So definitely look at Microsoft on the short side of that. NVDA. This thing just is going crazy. I mean, I was looking for it to get back in the Kellner channel here. Then we had this massive earnings pop. Now we're inside candle up here. We could end up seeing a sell-off. So I would watch it underneath this low right here of 379 for push down to 366, which is gap resistance, support. And if it breaks below that, we get a big gap to fill down here. So we'll have to see if that happens. I mean, the weekly RSI is 86 and it's over 82 on the daily. Usually when we have these candles way out of the way, gapped up this huge, we usually get like at least a 25 or 50% retracement before it rages more. But we could see NVIDIA has just been going completely bonkers. So we'll have to see if it actually does have to show some weakness this week or not. So keep an eye on that. Tesla is the last one. I mean, it pulled back a little bit from, it didn't quite get to 200, 198, but it's at a good area on the chart. You know, it's kind of, got a flag on the weekly. I'd pull back to that 193 area, 192 area, which has kind of been a resistance right here. But if it manages to have a strong market this week and Tesla is strong, I would watch it over 197 or even 198. For push to 200. It gets over this 200. We can see a strong push to 210, 215 on Tesla. So Tesla's got some room to run, especially on the weekly. It's got the Kellner channels at 225. Then you got RCT trend line at 255. You get the 250 psychological level right there. So Tesla has got some room to run if it decides to run. So definitely something to look at. Remember this week, today's Memorial Day. It's going to be a short week, so we'll have to see what happens to play it day by day. Should be a pretty wild week between economic numbers, debt ceiling, and any other events that happen through the week. So that's going to do it for the watch list, and thanks for watching.